Okay. Had to turn the volume down on the computer so we don't get any unnecessary interruptions. Obviously I watched the Super Bowl. I'm not gonna wear any Giants memorabilia. I'm gonna be modest. I turned the Super Bowl on just in time to see Kelly Clarkson do the national anthem. I'm probably the only straight fan she has, but she's very talented. She's very classy. Madonna, if they paid her 3 cents, they paid her too much. Okay? She sang her worst songs ever. And then she topped it off with one of her best songs. Whatever. Now, I missed 2 things before the Super Bowl, and I'm glad I did. I missed He Who Must Not Be Named, telling Americans he deserves a second term. And I missed the Emperor of New York City telling us about gun laws and gun control and shit like that. Now, for those of you that have been living under a rock, the Emperor does not like guns. Now, like all anti-gun officials, and I've said this a million times, the Emperor travels in a limousine surrounded by armed guards at the taxpayer's expense. Yes. So when he says he doesn't like guns, he means he doesn't like your gun. He likes his bodyguard's guns. He likes those guns. He doesn't like yours. Now, last year I think it was, he sent private investigators to Arizona. Now, in case you don't know anything about geography, Arizona is not a borough of New York City. Now, private investigators, where I live, in order for you to be a private investigator, you have to have a licensed investigator hire you as a novice. I think they have to document 400 hours. Like, you are a novice person without a license, and you are hooked up with a licensed investigator, and I think you have to do 400 hours of supervision under a licensed investigator, and then they document that you have done your 400 hours of apprenticeship and you are now a licensed investigator yourself. I think it's that way. If I'm mistaken, please correct me, and some licensed investigators are former police officers, former FBI agents. Now, private investigators are investigators that do private things. For instance, if your wife is having an affair, they'll follow her, take pictures of her, and you can bring the pictures to the divorce court. They also do other things. Now, private investigators are on the totem pole of law enforcement. They're in that vicinity. And they are obligated by law to report any crime they see. So if your wife is fooling around with you and they find her in bed with some guy, they'll just tell you and you'll tell your divorce attorney. But if your wife is fooling around with her 13-year-old student, they are obligated by law to call the police. They don't have a choice. Now, these private investigators went to spy on gun shows in Arizona. And according to Arizona penal codes, which are not as strict as New York penal codes, New York City, forget about it, those people in Arizona did nothing wrong. And the private investigators were under no obligation to report any crime because no crime was committed. Now, one of the attorney generals out there, I think it was the state attorney general, was firing up like crazy about, this is our territory, stay the hell out of it, we don't need your problems out here. And the emperor justified his intrusion by saying that his kingdom is flooded with guns bought and smuggled in from Arizona. Okay. The same people that believe that are people that talk to aliens. Now, another incident happened. I found this commercial, not on television. I found this commercial on YouTube because when you look at I forget which video it was, and if I find it later on, I'll look, I don't know. One of my videos, if you look on the sidebar, you see this commercial. Now, it's a commercial of a Muslim terrorist or an actor playing a Muslim terrorist, and they're having a translation into English. It's meant to be the U.S. government spying on terrorists overheard this conversation. Now, if this really was the U.S. government spying on an actual terrorist overhearing a conversation, it should be classified, not on a commercial. And the English translator says that the Muslim terrorist is telling his minions that you can go to the United States of America, buy a machine gun at a gun show, fully automatic gun, without a background investigation. Okay, I did a video on machine guns for Tom. I have the sniffles, I'm sorry. Look like a fucking retard. In order to buy a machine gun, you have to live in one of the 30 plus states that allow machine guns. Then you have to pay $200 for a tax stamp. Then you have to go to a class 3 dealer to do extensive background investigations. The dealer has to make sure the serial number says that the gun was made before May 19th, 1986. Any machine gun made after May 19th, 1986 is illegal automatically. Then once you settle all that garbage, you have to pay the owner of the machine gun. Uzis are $4,000, M16s are $10,000, heavy belt feds are $30,000, $40,000, and $50,000. Then you gotta register with the ATF, blah, blah, blah. Okay, also, the gun show loophole. Several states say that if I'm at a gun show and I have a used rifle, I can sell it to you for cash without a background. Okay? A lot of states are moving away from that. A lot of states are saying, listen, you can sell this guy a used rifle for cash, but you have to have a dealer sign the paperwork for you and send the paperwork into the state. My state is one of the states that does that now. If you go to a gun show in my state, you are welcome to buy a used rifle in a private sale, but a gun dealer must come over and do the paperwork for you. That's the law. So, no one in New York State is buying any gun off paper. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, my friends, okay? On top of that, New York State has banned machine guns entirely. Only people that have machine guns in New York are active law enforcement that have them in their police headquarters and military that have them on their bases. Okay? I don't give a shit if you are the colonel of this New York State Police. You do not have a machine gun in your private collection. Period. Also, no gun show loophole in New York. Oh, I just said that already. Okay, well, anyway, anywhere in the country, machine gun, no loophole. None. If you buy a machine gun and you have not registered it with the ATF, you are committing a federal offense, my friends. I'm just telling you the way it is. So, in the end of the commercial, the Emperor had an American flag at half-mast with boots. You know how the boots are with the boots, and the M16 face down with the dog tags and the helmet to symbolize the dead soldier. That's to remind us, terrorism is a threat, the American soldiers being killed. He wanted the people to see that anyone can go to a gun show and buy a machine gun without a background investigation. Now, several possibilities. This might give us several possibilities. Either A, that really was a terrorist and the terrorist was stupid, or B, it was an actor pretending to be a terrorist, or C, they just found a photo of an actual terrorist, put it up, and put the dialogue in ad lib. Okay? But people that don't own guns see this, and they honestly and reasonably believe that I can go to a gun show, buy a machine gun for cash, very little money, no paperwork, take the machine gun, go out, and mow everybody down. Like Rambo shit. Okay? That creates fear-mongering. Remember, the number one tool of the anti-gun movement is fear-mongering. The number one characteristic of the anti-gun fear-mongering is hypocrisy. All anti-gun politicians have bodyguards. 90% of them own guns. Some of them carry guns on their person all day. Okay. That's the truth. Now, there are experiments you can do. And you do an experiment and then you say, okay, this experiment worked for me, therefore you should try it. Some CEO might be like, listen, my employees were stressed out, so I hired a couple of massage girls to come in and just set up a chair and do some shoulder work during their lunch breaks. And because of that, stress is down, morale is up. So you should hire some girl to come to your office and do massages. Okay. Principal says, listen, I had a bunch of A students and a bunch of D students. I told the A students to volunteer their time to come in on Saturday and tutor the D students and the F students. The F students are now C students. The D students are now B students. It can work for you. Also, some doctor might be like, I eat 2 pieces of fruit a day and my cholesterol went down X points. So I recommend all my patients eat 2 or 3 pieces of fruit a day to get their cholesterol level down. I'm just pulling that out of my ass. Yeah, I'm a liberal now. So that's what happens. Now, the emperor was trying to elaborate. He made this commercial before the Super Bowl, which I did not see. Well, it wasn't a commercial, it was an advertisement talking about gun control and this and that. And he said, gun rights people should go to New York City and go to the hospitals, and they'll see people in the hospital that are shot. Which is very true. Very true. And he even mentioned that people get their guns illegally. He even mentioned people get their guns illegally. Well, let me tell you something right now. We already have a law that says it's a felony for a convicted felon to touch a gun. We already have a law saying it's a felony for a domestic abuser to touch a gun. We already have laws saying it's a felony for someone who was suicidal or overly psychotic or someone who is deemed by a judge or a psychiatrist to be a danger to society. They are banned from touching guns, period, no questions asked. Now, if these laws do not stop them, the law is not going to stop you from buying a gun illegally. That's why it's called illegal. So he's trying to say, well, we need more gun laws, we need more gun laws, we need more gun laws. Now, I will do an extensive review of New York City gun laws, not today though, but it will be one day this year. The New York City gun laws are left of California. Okay? New York City gun owners fantasize about moving to California and Hawaii and Massachusetts for better gun rights. That's right. New York City, not New York City, New York City. I gotta take a leak, I'll be right back. I gotta take a leak. Yes, I did go before I started the video. I just had to go again. I'm sorry. Okay. Now, he's trying to say, listen, like the guy, the CEO that hired the girls to come in and do the massages. Morale went up. Stress went down. Like the principal that asked the A students to help tutor on Saturdays. Grades went up. Okay? He's trying to say, listen, if you join me and if you help pass better gun laws, we can stop crime. Here are some examples of New York City gun law. First of all, every county in New York State issues its own handgun licensing. And every county in New York State honors your gun rights. So if you live in my county, you can go to the other side of the state to go hunting, so long as you legally own your gun and so long as you have a hunting license. You can go to any gun range you want in the state, so long as the gun range is equipped to accommodate your firearm. Like, I can't bring a 12-gauge shotgun to my local range because it's not accommodated for that. But so long as the gun range is accommodated to your firearm, you can bring it there. New York State allows any resident, so long as they are legally in possession of the handgun, to drive with a loaded handgun in their car. Don't go to a government building. Don't go to a school. Okay, everybody in New York, every county issues their own licensing. You get it from usually the county courthouse, and you can use the gun wherever. We even allow New York City gun owners to come in. We do. A New York City gun owner can come into the rest of New York State. Now, New York City is sort of off to the side. With a few exceptions here and there, you could pretty much drive from one end of New York State to the other without going to New York City. It's sort of like off to the side like this. Kind of like that. Yeah. So, you could be a New York State gun owner. You live in a house downstate. You own a property upstate. And you want to spend the weekend there. Put a couple of guns in the car. Maybe you want to go hunting, or maybe you want to go target shooting at a range up there. So you put your long guns in the car. Long guns can't be loaded though. Take a handgun in the car, put it up front when you load it, drive up to your other property, get out. You're on your own property. It's your second house. As long as you legally own the guns, that's that. Now, New York City. Oh, by the way, I forgot one thing. Handgun licensing fees. I paid $10 for my handgun license fee. $10. The application was like that. So it takes 50 cents to $1 to print a piece of paper. So paying $10 for an application wasn't really that outstretched. I could have, I found this out later, I could have sent them money, excuse me. Shit. Even with a call, I still go on. The show must go on. God fucking damn it. Unbelievable. Even with a call, I'm still fucking going. Fucking mother. Okay. Yeah, I'm fucking sneezing my ass off. So, pay $10, get the application. I paid $10 in person. I could have sent them a letter saying, send me the application in the mail. Here's $10 plus a little extra for the envelope and the stamp. Okay? You have to go to the courthouse to submit the application and take your fingerprints. You have to go there to pick the license up. They mail you a letter, your license is approved. Come get it. You got to get it in person because they want to make sure the guy picking the license up is the same guy that took the fingerprints. So, 3 trips to the county courthouse, you have your license. Long guns. Long guns are not registered in New York State. You have to buy them from a dealer on paper, but they're not registered. Weapon accessory bans. How many times I gotta say it? A pistol grip, or a bayonet lug, or a flash suppressor, or a collapsible buttstock. Magazines. Magazine, 10 rounds, or if it was made before September 13th, 1994, you can have 1,000,000 rounds. I could have a giant drum this big, full of ammo. Hundreds of rounds of ammo. Giant ass drum. Connected to my gun and shoot. As long as it was made a minute before the ban, I'm good. Let's look at New York City now. Handgun licensing fee for the application. New York State is $10. New York City, $340. And they're being sued in federal court because not everybody in New York City can afford $340. Especially the guys that live in bad neighborhoods who really need the gun for home defense. You know, you got guys in New York City, they don't make that much money. How are they going to afford $340? Please. Registration. Handguns and long guns are registered. And there's a limit on how many long guns you could buy in a year, I think. Magazines. I'm doing this off the top of my head. I haven't documented anything down. I'm not reading anything. Magazines. 10 rounds only. No pre-ban. If you had an 11-round magazine on September 13th, 1994, you physically had it in your possession that minute, you can have it. But you want to go on Gun Broker, order a pre-banned magazine, have it sent to New York City, you cannot. Long guns. No evil features, okay? Rest of New York State says one evil feature. New York City says no evil features. New York City says no AR, no AK. Not compliant AR, compliant AK, no AR, no AK. What rifles may you not own in New York City? List is that long. Mini 14. The Mini 14 has a ranch model with no evil features on it. And it comes with a 5-round hunting compliant magazine. 5 rounds. Not allowed in New York City. Oh, speaking of magazine capacity, handguns are 10 round, no pre-ban. Long guns are 5 rounds, no pre-ban. So you cannot have a 6-round magazine in New York City for a rifle. You cannot have a 7-round tube in a shotgun in New York City. You cannot. They've pretty much banned every rifle or shotgun that is used for defense. Only sporting rifles and shotguns. The Ruger 1022, 10-round magazine. Can't have it. You either got to tell Ruger to make you a 5-round magazine, or you probably still can't have the goddamn thing. Ammunition. I go to my dealer, I say, listen, I'm in the area, I stop by, give me a Mossberg 500. I gotta order it. I'm just making this up. I gotta order it, okay. I'm here now. Let me pick up the ammunition now. No problem. New York City, you cannot have ammunition unless you have a gun that is compatible with it. So if you have a box of 9mm ammunition, you better have a 9mm handgun. If you have a box of 9mm ammunition and no 9mm handgun in New York City, illegal. So if you trade in your Glock 17 in New York City, you make sure you get rid of every last round of 9mm in the house. Magazines. I can go out, I can buy 4 AR-15 magazines right now. 4. Okay? Pre-banned 30-round magazines. Legal. I'm going to buy an AR-15 in the future. I wanted the magazines today. Legal. Well, obviously New York City does not allow an AR rifle, but you cannot have any magazine unless you have a gun that's compatible. Crazy, isn't it? Driving around in a car. If you are in a car with a gun, we go DC over here. You have to have the gun in the trunk. I think the case has to be locked. You have to have the ammunition separate from the gun. New York State, rest of New York State, I can take a loaded handgun, clip it on my belt. Take a shotgun. Empty the shotgun because you're not allowed to drive with a loaded long gun in your car. So I take my shotgun, take all the ammunition out of it, put the shotgun in the rifle case, take the shotgun case, whatever the fuck you want to call it, long gun case. Take the shotgun in the case, throw it in the back seat of my car, take a box of 12 gauge ammunition this big, put it in my car, get in the car with the handgun on my hip, and drive to a range upstate. Or drive to my relative's house to spend the weekend upstate. Totally legal. New York City, gun locked in the car, in the trunk, ammunition separate as possible. Remember I said New York State allows anyone with their gun? As long as you are a New York State resident, you can bring your gun everywhere. Well, everywhere a gun is acceptable. You can't bring it to school, you can't bring it to government building, stuff like that. But as long as you are in a place where it is acceptable to bring a gun, and as long as you are the gun's legal owner, you can bring it. I can go to any range I want, I go to hunting grounds I want. New York City does not honor other New York State licenses. Someone from New York City can bring their gun into my hometown and go to one of my ranges. I cannot bring my gun into their hometown. I cannot bring a .22 single-shot rifle to a New York City gun range. It's illegal. I have no Second Amendment protection in New York City, none, and I'm a New York resident. Now, to be fair, many of these laws were on the books for years. But he hasn't done anything to stop these laws, nor has he done anything to loosen them. In fact, he might even enforce them more. Now, gun control works. Okay, here's how gun control works. New York City averages 1,000 murders a year. When I say murder, I don't mean a cop shooting a felon in the course of a violent crime. I mean a murder, where you kill somebody for evil. That's murder. If a guy breaks in my house and I blow his fucking head off, that's not murder, because he threatened me. But if I get mad and I go out in the street and I kill a guy, that's murder. Okay? 1,000 murders a year. 200 illegal shootings a year. 1,000 murders a year. 200 shootings a month. 200 shootings a month. Not legal shootings, illegal shootings. 90% are believed to be gang related. That's a theory, but 90% are believed to be gang related. Because it's damn near impossible. Remember I said about, in order for me to get a handgun license, I have to go to my county courthouse 2 or 3 times? In order for you to get a gun license in New York City, you have to go to one police plaza in Manhattan at least 6 times over a 6-month period. I've heard it could be more, it could be less, but figure if you live in Queens, Staten Island, Brooklyn, the Bronx, depending on your mode of transportation, depending on what kind of job you have, it may not be feasible to go to one police plaza 6 times in a 6-month period. You may have work, you may have school. It's very, very difficult for a law-abiding citizen to get a gun. Very expensive, $340 for the application. It's fucking expensive, it's crazy. So 90% of the shootings are believed to be gang-related. They're definitely criminal, but they're believed to be gang-related. Stabbings. They stopped counting stabbings. They don't even know how many people get stabbed in New York City. And my argument is, if gun control works, why does New York City have so much crime? To be all fair, LA has twice as much crime and Chicago has 3 times as much crime. But in all fairness, if gun control works, I want to know why New York City is not the safest place in the country. Now, 74% of Americans support the Second Amendment. 26 detract it. He's speaking to that 26%. He's trying to get that 26% riled up. Well, when you talk about what you know, it's kind of like when the liberals talk about civil rights. Okay? You talk about something you know nothing about. Okay? Every single solitary race law in this country, without any exception, was written by a liberal. And the liberals are the party of civil rights that get to preach to the conservative movement about human rights and human dignity. Okay? It's kind of like this, okay? You have the second worst gun laws in the country. The only gun laws worse than New York City are Washington, D.C. itself. And you're coming on television before the Super Bowl to make an announcement about why your policies work. Okay? It's almost like Dan Marino. It's kind of like Dan Marino talking about the 1997 season. It's kind of like Johnny Unitas being interviewed about Super Bowl III. Okay? Or Robert E. Lee talking about, what is it, Gettysburg? Okay? You don't need to come on TV to propagandize your failure. Okay? Failure as a mayor, failure as an administrator, failure on a lot of levels. Super Bowl was the reason because a lot of guys watched Super Bowl. There was also supposed to be a commercial that was supposed to air, but it didn't air. Just his interview that I didn't see, thank God. But I saw a clip of it later. So, that's just my argument there. I want to know if gun laws work, why is there so much crime in New York City? Keeping in mind, my hometown is the 4th biggest state in... My hometown is the 4th biggest city in the state. I don't think we have 10 murders a year. The 4th biggest city in the state. And I know for a fact, my hometown, even though New York City has 8 million people in it, even though New York City has a bigger population than at least 20 states, my city has a lot more legal guns in my city than New York City. Legal guns. Not illegal guns, legal guns. My home county, I will bet any amount of money, my home county has twice as many legal guns as all of New York City. You know how low my county's crime rate is? We have 4 major cities that sometimes produce crime. Most of my county is rural areas, but I live in a very, very large county, Westchester. I live in a very large city, Yonkers. And there are areas in my hometown, you can walk around at night. Some areas in my hometown you can't walk around during the day, but some areas in my hometown you can walk around at night. There are cities and towns and villages in New York and Westchester County. You can walk around all night with your hands in your pocket without looking behind you. I don't recommend it, but you could. And I want to know who is he to talk about gun rights, okay? Who is he to talk about gun safety? Okay? New York City residents cannot get guns if they want to, legally. Paperwork, applications, licenses, money, it is the hardest thing in the world. Gun owners view New York City as West Berlin. Okay? West Berlin, East Berlin. The only difference is New York City residents can move into my home county. And if you're a New York City gun owner, your dream is to move to my county. That's your dream. Less crime, more guns. I understand the fact that gangbangers are going to commit crime. But stopping a law-abiding citizen who is too poor to move out of a bad neighborhood and needs a legally owned gun to protect his family from a home invasion, okay, making it difficult for that guy who works a job, has a wife, and has kids, making it difficult for him to get a gun is not going to stop a home invader, nor a drug dealer, nor a gang member. You can't have a tactical rifle or shotgun on any level in New York City. They're pretty much banned entirely. Only sporting rifles and shotguns. You can still have a lot of... There's no handgun list in New York City. No handgun list that I'm aware of. I can have any handgun I want as long as it's got a 10-round magazine, no pre-bans. And New York City is still protected by the Castle Doctrine. The Castle Doctrine does exist in New York City. But Castle Doctrine and the absence of an approved handgun list is the only reason why New York City gun laws are better than Washington, D.C. gun laws. I'd like to recommend someone, Emily Miller, who was a journalist for the Washington Times, a conservative newspaper. She's trying to get a gun in D.C. She's almost there. She's like that close. EmilyMillerDC, her username is. She also has a posting on the NRA's website. She appears on the NRA's YouTube page. Okay, thank you. The updated, extensive review of New York City that is plotted out in detail will be available later this year. Thank you.